Haniyeh was in the Iranian capital to attend the swearing-in of Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian. The 62-year-old chief of Hamas, the political chief, was the head of the political bureau of Hamas, which governed the Gaza Strip since 2007. He lived in Qatar and had traveled to Tehran to participate in the inauguration of President Masoud on the 30th of July. Official photographs showed him amongst the world leaders who attended the swearing-in ceremony. Hamas said in a statement that Haniyeh was killed in an Israeli attack on his location in Tehran after attending the ceremony of the new Iranian president. India was represented by Union Minister Nitin Gadkari at Iran's new president inaugural yesterday. Hamas chief Ismail Haniyeh, also present in the ceremony, was killed here. The IDF has carried out a targeted strike against Hezbollah's most senior military commander and head of the strategic unit, Fuad Shukra, also known as Said Musin, in Beirut. Fuad served as the right-hand man to Hezbollah Secretary General Hassan Nasrallah and was his advisor for wartime operations.
This evening, the IDF carried out a targeted strike in Beirut on Fuad Shukr, also known as Said Musin, Hezbollah's most senior military commander and the head of its strategic unit. Fuad Shukr was the right-hand man to Hassan Nasrallah, Hezbollah's leader and his advisor in planning and directing attacks and operations. Fuad Shukr was the commander responsible for the Majd al-Shams massacre, in which 12 children were murdered after Hezbollah fired an Iranian Falak 1 rocket directly at a soccer field in northern Israel on Saturday evening. He was a senior terrorist who has the blood of the Israelis and many others on his hands. One day after Hamas massacre on October 7th, Hezbollah joined Hamas in attacking Israelis.
All right, I'm going to go now straight across to Jonathan Conricus, Senior Fellow at FDD and former IDF spokesperson. Thank you for your time. Our Foreign Affairs Editor, Geeta Mohan, also continues to be with us. Jonathan, first to you. As far as this assassination is concerned, there's a big question mark on, in spite of how the security that has been given to the Hamas political leader, this was carried out. Also, in your sense, where does this development now take the war?
Yes, hello. I think the first thing we should acknowledge is that this is a very good day. It's a good day for Israel. It's a good day for people who aspire freedom. It's a bad day for terrorists, whether they are elected terrorists like the new Iranian president or former terrorists like the one assassinated in Beirut just a few hours ago. And I think it sends a very strong message from Israel to the Iranian axis of violence and terror in the Middle East, that Israel may take a long time to get its hands on people, but eventually it does. And I think that this message is very important because all of the fingerprints of all of the violence in the region, whether it is Hamas, Hezbollah, the Islamic Jihad, or the Houthis, all of the fingerprints are Iranian fingerprints of the Revolutionary Guard and the Quds Force. Had it not been for their weapons, their money, their funding, and their political extremism, we would not be at war and there would not be all the casualties that we're seeing in Western Asia. So it's a good day, a good message. What I anticipate will be that now the Iranians are going to get more involved. I think that Hamas itself, as a terrorist organization, as a fighting entity, has very limited capabilities to actually deal a retaliatory blow against Israel, because Israel has degraded Hamas's capabilities. And I think that if anything will happen, it will be with Iranian or Hezbollah involvement. And Israel is definitely on high alert and standby. No new instructions have been given to civilians yet in Israel. That is pending on intel. But I think that Israelis today can hold their heads a little bit higher and to take some form of solace that one of the planners and the executors of the October 7 massacre against Israel is going to meet his maker, and not a day too early, if I may add.
Please be with us. In fact, I'm also going to be bringing in my senior colleague Shivarur, who's joining us in the broadcast. But first to you now, Geeta. Geeta also wanted to come in. Geeta, over to you.
Well, Jonathan, a very important day indeed for Israel when it comes to achievement. This is the highest target that can be when it comes to the Israel-Hamas war and taking out the leadership. Hamas leadership's taken out. The big question over here that many are asking is, was there or could there have been, according to you, a coordination between Israel and the United States of America on this operation? According to you, would you know whether if the Americans would have been informed on such an operation or not?
Yeah, so the American Secretary of Defense, I think he's in Manila just now,
Jonathan?
and he responded. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes? Yeah, sorry. The American Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin, he responded to that specific question just minutes ago in Manila, and he said that he had no information to share, so I wouldn't want to comment on it. I can say that I think what Israel has shown over the last few days is that Israel has quite impressive intel and striking capabilities, and I'm not entirely sure that they are reliant on US assistance. Israel has shown itself capable of flying into Iranian airspace and conducting various activities. I think that in the days that will follow, we will learn more details about how exactly this happened and what type of operation it was. But I think that, you know, a lot of times Israel is slandered in the international media for causing collateral damage and killing civilians. These two last strikes were very surgical, very clean, very professional. They struck terrorists who were busy fighting Israel and directing military activity against Israel. And many speak about Ismail Haniyeh as a moderate or a political leader. Let us not be confused. Haniyeh is a terrorist with a black heart full of hatred towards Israel and towards Jews, a man that has devoted his entire life to armed terror activity against Israel. That is his legacy, not of political moderation and not of a hope for coexistence in the future. He is a terrorist and he is now dead.
Right.
And that is the way that all terrorists should be going. And I think that today is a good day in that sense.
Right. The other important aspect, Jonathan, is the fact that this is not the first time Ismail Haniyeh traveled to Iran. We know that he was in Iran for Ibrahim Raisi's funeral service as well. So for somebody who's been a part of the idea, for somebody who's known how the planning takes place, was that one area where we saw, okay, he does come to Tehran, he did come for Ibrahim Raisi's funeral, and that's when the planning began on where he goes, his movements, where he stays, and the reason why we now see a surgical strike rather than one where there could have been massive collateral damage.
Well, you know, Ismail Haniyeh and other terrorists have been residing in luxurious hotels in Qatar for many years. That is where they have had their headquarters. And Israeli intelligence, Mossad and IDF have been tracking their activities and monitoring their activities there. I think that what we have now, if all of the reports are correct, is that Israel saw an opportunity based on intel, based on the fact that Haniyeh made public that he was visiting in Tehran, and Israel had the actual capacity based on various sources of intelligence to actually deliver the strike. And I think it shouldn't be underestimated the fact that it was chosen to do in Tehran, the capital of the country that is leading all of the efforts against Israel. And there's a significance here in the fact that Israel chose not to do it in Doha, in Qatar, but actually to do it in Tehran. And that sends a message to the Iranian masters as well, not only to Hamas. And just one last point. A very important terrorist leader who still remains alive is Yahya Sinwar. And the IDF has been able to take out Mohammad Deif, who was the senior military commander. You could call him the chief of staff of the Hamas's military. He has been killed, and that has been confirmed by the IDF. Now, Ismail Haniyeh. And what Israel needs to do is to continue to remain pressure on Hamas and to find Yahya Sinwar as well in order to eliminate the leadership of Hamas, and that perhaps will move us forward towards ending this war and achieving victory against Hamas.
Be with us, Jonathan. In fact, I'm also going to be bringing in our senior colleague Shiv Arur, who's joined us right now. Shiv, talk to us a little about what next? Further escalation? What do you foresee?
Well, I definitely see an escalation, Sneha. All the pieces of this particular puzzle haven't, revealed themselves just yet. U.S. involvement, whether Iran was in on some kind of a deal, whether Ismail Haniyeh was sold out. These are all questions that, hopefully will get some kind of clarity in the days and the weeks ahead. I'm not surprised that the Secretary of Defense of the United States has said, he's not aware of anything. Israel hasn't put out an official statement just yet either. So, many things are still up in the air. But a question I wanted to ask Jonathan, and Jonathan, I'd like to start by congratulating you. I agree. This is a day of celebration for Israel, undoubtedly, and all countries that oppose terrorism. Ismail Haniyeh has, after triggering this attack in October last year, something that I covered, on the ground in Israel for many weeks, is finally dead. He's been hiding, in countries living a very lavish lifestyle as the person who was, perhaps the key fundraiser, the key interface with, the so-called international community that continued to finance Hamas. How does this change things on the ground for Hamas, the death of Ismail Haniyeh, Jonathan?
Yeah, thank you for those comments. I think you're very correct in stating that we have to be patient and see how this entire puzzle comes into focus, or all the different pixels of this picture come into focus. It's definitely a blow, and Ismail Haniyeh was an important figurehead and a leader, and someone who had regional recognition within the terrorist world. He was a person with many contacts to other terrorists. He had a long record of interacting with their Iranian masters. So the fact that he goes away is definitely a blow to Hamas, but we have to be realistic. Terrorist organizations are known for their flexibility and their ability to grow or spawn new senior figureheads as one is assassinated. So we shouldn't get ahead of ourselves and to be too happy. But it's definitely a blow to Hamas. And I'll say that if we couple the military situation in Gaza, where Hamas's capabilities have been significantly degraded by Israel, and the fact that Mohammad Deif, the military commander, is killed, and now Ismail Haniyeh, we're beginning to see what may be the first stages of the actual victory or the crumbling of Hamas. We are not quite there yet, but this is definitely a step in the right direction.
Very important, that the triumvirate, the trinity of the Hamas leadership, as it were, only Yahya Sinwar, like you rightly said, Jonathan, is left at this point of time. And even, even just a few weeks into the conflict that began in October last year, there was every sense that the capabilities of the Hamas, was being progressively degraded, under the might of Israeli attacks. It's soon going to be 1 year. That's the reality of it, Jonathan. It's soon going to be 1 year since the October 7th attacks. Is Israel any closer? This is a huge milestone, and I agree with you, it's a massive blow. But overall, is Israel any closer to its bigger objective of whatever it's looking to see as closure in this particular conflict? Is there an end in sight now, you feel?
Yes and no. Yes, in the fact that Israel has degraded the military threat emanating from Gaza. That is unequivocal and cannot be denied. But no, because Israel has not yet started to address the source of instability in the region and the major threat towards Israel and regional stability, which is the Islamic Republic of Iran. And I think that until Israel builds a strategy which is a comprehensive one that deals with economy, politics, diplomacy, and military against Iran and starts acting on that strategy, until that happens, then the Iranian strategy of surrounding Israel with a circle or a ring of fire of different terrorist organizations will continue, because the Iranians are not paying a price for it. So what Israel needs to do is to gather itself, build that strategy, and start to hold Iran accountable for their acts of aggression against Israel. Before that happens, we will not see stability and peace in Western Asia. We will see more belligerent activity from Iran until they are stopped.
Well, Sneha, that provides clarity. The fact that this is a milestone in the war so far, and it increases the degree of uncertainty over what lies ahead. I agree with Jonathan that an escalation is almost inevitable, but we still need to see where those pieces actually land in the days and the weeks ahead. It's going to be very interesting to see, but a huge blow nonetheless to Hamas and to terrorists everywhere. Sneha.
I have to leave you. Thank you.
Right. Jonathan Conricus, I'm going to thank you for joining in with your perspective on that big story that we are tracking. Shiv and Geeta continue to be with us. Geeta, also, I understand that there is an alert in Israel right now. Just take us through the details of what has now been said by the administration.
Sneha, could you please repeat the question?
But Geeta, I was asking you about the alert in Israel. Can you hear me?
Can you please repeat the question, Sneha? I couldn't hear your question.
Yes, Geeta, my question to you was about the alert that has been issued in Israel right now as a precautionary measure. If you could take us through the details.
Well, like Jonathan was saying, that there is no specific instructions to the public yet, but yes, an alert has been issued. It's a very important one, given that when such operations are carried out, one expects retaliation. Retaliation will come in time. It will not be immediate, but it certainly is going to be one that Israel will be prepared for. And that's why an alert issued for the citizens of Israel is also ensuring that for the next couple of days, that Israel is going to be on high alert to ensure that there is no untoward incident that takes place in a public space where such incidents can be or could have been avoided. So yes, on alert, Israel on alert, but specific instructions, like Jonathan said, has not been issued yet. Those instructions will also follow. Israel is very meticulous when it comes to the alerts as well. There are levels of alerts that are issued, and in that, they will very specifically be saying the places that people can visit, the places that they should not, the instructions on if the sirens go out, where each individual in their own space, in their own neighborhood should be at. So all those instructions will follow suit. But yes, Israel is going to be on high alert for the next coming days, given that they've done one of the most impossible tasks, which was considered impossible, of taking out Hamas leadership. And like Shiv was saying a while earlier, it's only one of the top leadership that's now left of the Hamas leadership. So for Israel, it's a big win. For Hamas, a huge loss, but more so loss of pace for Iran, because that entire targeted killing took place within Iranian soil. So a lot when it comes to response, it's not just going to be from Hamas, which certainly is the case for Israel. Look at response from Hezbollah, because there was a Hezbollah commander, a senior leader, also killed in Lebanon. So expect retaliation from there. Then we're looking at Houthis in Yemen, extremist groups in Iraq, and of course Iran retaliating and avenging the attack, the planned operation on Iranian soil.